Niccolò Machiavelli, the Renaissance thinker, often remembered for his brutal honesty about power and human nature, believed that to survive and thrive in this world, you must understand people better than they understand themselves. Power, after all, does not belong to the strongest or even the smartest. It belongs to the one who can read the intentions, weaknesses, and desires of others before they reveal them. To read someone instantly is not sorcery, it is strategy. Machiavelli teaches us that human beings are predictable, and with the right lens, their masks fall away. Today we will uncover 14 Machiavellian psychological tactics that will allow you to read anyone instantly. And once mastered, these tactics give you an advantage in every negotiation, every conversation, and every relationship. 1. Watch what they praise and what they condemn. If you truly want to know someone, don't ask them what they value. People rarely tell the truth when asked directly. Most will polish their words, presenting themselves in the most flattering way possible, hoping you see them as virtuous, generous, or noble. But words are smoke. The real truth of a person is revealed in the things they praise and the things they criticize, often without realizing it. Compliments are confessions in disguise, and so are insults. When someone admires cunning in another, they are quietly admitting their own hunger for influence. When they praise resilience, they are revealing a silent wish to possess it themselves. On the other hand, the traits they condemn usually reflect what they secretly fear or despise within themselves. The one who ridicules ambition is usually envious of those who strive for greatness, while the one who mocks intelligence is often bitter about their own ignorance. Machiavelli would remind us that every man wears a mask, but that mask slips when he comments on the world around him. In truth, what people attack in others often highlights the very qualities they lack, while what they admire points directly toward their deepest desires. Watch closely in casual conversation, in moments of gossip, or even in passing remarks. You will notice that people reveal more in these fragments than they ever would in a direct confession. Praise and condemnation are not neutral. They are mirrors, reflecting the hidden state of a person's soul. If you train yourself to listen with precision, you will learn to read a person instantly, not by what they claim to be, but by what they cannot help but admire or despise in others. 2. Observe how they treat the powerless. A person's true character is never revealed in how they treat those above them, because there they are cautious, calculated, and restrained. Nor is it seen in how they treat their equals, where appearances must be maintained to avoid losing face. No, the clearest window into a person's soul is how they behave toward those who hold no power over them. The waiter who serves them, the assistant who takes their orders, the stranger who cannot advance their ambitions in any way. Here, the mask slips. The cruel man will mock and belittle, not because he is strong, but because he is weak and desperate to feel powerful in front of someone who cannot retaliate. The insecure individual will display arrogance to inflate their own fragile self-image. But the truly confident, the truly disciplined, treat even the powerless with respect, not because they must, but because they can afford to. Machiavelli would warn that contempt seeps out in subtle ways: an impatient gesture, a dismissive tone, a glance that lingers too long with superiority. These small cracks reveal far more than any grand act of generosity. In fact, many people who appear charitable to the powerful only do so because it benefits them. But kindness to those who offer nothing in return exposes genuine strength of character, while cruelty toward them exposes cowardice. If you wish to read someone instantly, do not be distracted by the politeness they perform for superiors or the charm they extend to equals. Watch instead how they treat those who cannot strike back, and you will see the truth of who they really are. 3. Study what makes them angry. There is no quicker way to uncover someone's weaknesses than to study the moments when they lose control.
Anger is not random. It is a precise signal pointing to the values, insecurities, and vulnerabilities a person desperately tries to hide. When an insult cuts too deeply, it reveals the exact wound they are protecting. The vain will erupt when their appearance or reputation is questioned, because without admiration, they feel invisible. The insecure will rage when their intelligence or competence is challenged, because it exposes the self-doubt they carry quietly. The greedy will react violently when denied resources or recognition, because their entire sense of worth is tethered to gain. Anger, in this way, is not merely an emotion. It is a confession, a map to the places where someone can be manipulated, controlled, or broken. Machiavelli understood that men often guard their words and disguise their intentions, but anger tears down those defenses in an instant. It is the one emotion powerful enough to strip away the mask, leaving a raw and unfiltered self exposed. This is why he would caution rulers and strategists alike never to dismiss an outburst as unimportant, but instead to dissect it carefully. Each flare of temper is a signpost, a window to the ego, a revelation of what truly matters to a person. To read someone instantly, you must observe not only what delights them, but what enrages them. Their anger tells you where their pride lives, and wherever pride lives, leverage is always close at hand. 4. Notice their silences. Words are easy to fabricate. People can rehearse them, polish them, and use them as masks to conceal what they truly think. But silence is harder to control. What a person avoids saying is often louder than anything they claim outright. Pay attention to the questions they sidestep, the topics that make them suddenly fall quiet, or the stories they leave unfinished. In those gaps lies the truth. The liar, for example, often fills the air with unnecessary details, yet will stumble into silence when pressed on something that touches too closely on the reality they're trying to conceal. The envious will smile and nod at your success, but their silence where genuine congratulations should be reveals their bitterness. The guilty will avoid certain topics altogether, as if the mere mention of them would set fire to their carefully constructed facade. Machiavelli would remind us that silence is not neutrality, it is strategy, sometimes conscious, sometimes unconscious. He knew that what men choose not to discuss often marks the very place where they feel most vulnerable. The mask can only cover so much. Eventually, the absence of words becomes more telling than the presence of them. If you learn to read silences, you will no longer be deceived by charm or eloquence. Instead, you will hear the truth hiding between sentences, in the pauses, in the sudden changes of subject. To read someone instantly, listen not only to what they say, but to what they leave unsaid. For silence, to the trained ear, is confession in its purest form. 5. Test them with small requests. If you want to predict how someone will behave when the stakes are high, you must first watch how they act when the stakes are low. People often reveal their true reliability not in grand promises, but in the smallest agreements. Ask for something minor, a simple favor, a small task, a commitment of little consequence, and observe how they respond. The one who eagerly commits yet fails to follow through has already confessed that their word is weak. The one who dismisses trivial obligations as beneath them shows that their loyalty is self-serving, reserved only for what benefits them directly. But the one who treats even small responsibilities with seriousness reveals a discipline that can be trusted in greater matters. Machiavelli understood that character is a consistent thread. How a person handles the small is how they will handle the great. This is why he warned leaders never to entrust important duties to those who stumble over trivial ones. For the man who cannot keep a minor promise will not suddenly transform into someone dependable when the burden grows heavier. Testing people with small requests, then, becomes a quiet yet powerful strategy of discernment. It allows you to separate those who are dependable from those who are careless, the loyal from the opportunistic. And the beauty of this tactic is that it requires no confrontation, only observation. By offering someone the chance to prove themselves in matters of little weight, you will instantly know how they will behave when the weight is crushing. 6. Observe how they spend their time. Time is the purest and most honest currency of all. Unlike words, which can be deceived, or appearances, which can be staged, time cannot be faked. Where a person chooses to invest their hours tells you what they truly value, no matter what they claim. Someone may speak passionately about ambition and success, yet if their nights are swallowed by distraction and indulgence, their actions betray them. Another may insist that loyalty and family mean everything, yet if they devote their best energy elsewhere, their priorities are already revealed. Machiavelli would argue that the most reliable way to read a man is not by listening to what he aspires to be, but by watching how he spends the irretrievable minutes of his life. For every hour is a vote cast in the direction of his true desires. This is why observing someone's schedule, their habits, and their rituals is far more revealing than any confession. The disciplined will always carve out time for growth, for mastery, for maintaining control over themselves. The lazy will always allow time to slip away, offering excuses instead of results. The self-absorbed will consume their hours on vanity, while the power-hungry will devote every moment toward advancement. Nothing unmasks a person faster than the trail of their time, and if you learn to watch this trail closely, you will never again be deceived by grand declarations of ambition or hollow claims of virtue. You will see exactly what governs them, for time exposes the master every man truly serves.
7. See who they imitate. Every person, no matter how original they claim to be, imitates someone. Human beings are creatures of influence, and the figures they copy reveal the blueprint of their ambitions. Some will model themselves after the powerful, mimicking speech patterns, clothing, or mannerisms, hoping that by association they might absorb strength they do not yet possess. Others will follow every trend, not out of genuine preference, but out of fear. Fear of standing alone, fear of being seen as different, fear of being left behind. But those rare individuals who borrow selectively, who draw from many sources and refine what they take into something uniquely their own, are the ones who possess genuine strength of identity. Machiavelli knew that imitation is not meaningless, it is confession. By watching who a man copies, you discover who he wishes to become. This is why careful observation of imitation is one of the fastest ways to read someone's character. The sycophant who shadows the powerful reveals himself as an opportunist. The insecure who parrots the opinions of the crowd shows you his lack of independent thought. But the one who imitates not out of desperation, but out of deliberate refinement, demonstrates a mind capable of transformation. In this sense, imitation is not only a mirror of aspiration, it is also a map of self-awareness. To read someone instantly, do not only look at who they are today, watch who they imitate, for it will tell you who they are striving to be tomorrow. 8. Notice their patterns of loyalty. Loyalty is one of the most revealing traits a person can display, not because it is constant, but because it is conditional, and those conditions expose everything about someone's true nature. Listen to how they speak of old friends, former mentors, or past employers. Do they always frame themselves as the victim, insisting that betrayal and injustice seem to follow them everywhere? If so, understand this: it is not chance, but character. A person who burns every bridge behind them is not cursed by fate. They are simply showing you their natural disposition. On the other hand, those who speak with balance, who can acknowledge both the good and the bad of past relationships, reveal steadiness and fairness. Machiavelli knew that betrayal is rarely an isolated act. It is a pattern, and those who betray once will, under the right circumstances, betray again. This is why studying loyalty is such a powerful tool for reading someone instantly. You are not just learning about their history, you are glimpsing your own future with them. The friend who casually abandons others when the relationship no longer benefits them will do the same to you. The employee who slanders every past employer will, in time, slander you. But the individual who maintains loyalty even after parting ways, who speaks with restraint instead of bitterness, is someone who understands honor, even when it no longer serves them directly. Machiavelli would caution, never be fooled by dramatic declarations of loyalty spoken in the moment. Words are cheap, but patterns are priceless. Watch the trail they have left behind, and it will show you the road they will walk with you.
9. Pay attention to their humor. If you want to uncover the truths people are too guarded to admit directly, listen to what they laugh at. Humor is never just entertainment. It is a safe disguise for what the heart dares not say openly. Jokes reveal hidden bitterness, concealed desires, and even suppressed fears. The man who constantly ridicules others with sarcasm is often drowning in resentment. The one who relies on crude humor exposes the frustrations he cannot articulate otherwise. And the one who hides behind endless self-deprecating jokes is rarely just being modest. He is signaling his hunger for reassurance, begging for others to deny his words and lift him up. Machiavelli would argue that laughter is one of the purest confessions because it slips past the conscious guard. People may carefully manage their serious statements, but they rarely filter what amuses them. This is why paying attention to humor is one of the fastest ways to read someone instantly. A person's jokes outline their worldview in sharper detail than any deliberate speech. If their humor is always at someone else's expense, you are looking at cruelty wrapped in charm. If their humor is light, clever, and inclusive, you are dealing with someone who values harmony. And if their laughter often erupts at the misfortune of others, you can be certain that envy and malice dwell close to the surface. To read a person well, you must understand that humor is not just laughter, it is revelation. The mask may remain steady in serious conversation, but the joke always betrays the truth hiding beneath. 10. Test their boundaries. Every person has limits, and how they assert them, or fail to, reveals more than words ever could. Boundaries are not merely about physical space. They are the invisible lines that define comfort, self-respect, and authority. Push lightly with subtle provocations, small challenges, or requests that infringe upon their routine and observe how they respond. The overly defensive will flare, exposing insecurity and a fragile sense of self. The overly permissive will allow repeated violations, signaling a hunger to be liked at the expense of dignity. But the individual who asserts their boundaries calmly, firmly, and without excessive drama demonstrates mastery over themselves, a quiet strength that cannot be shaken by minor disruptions. Machiavelli would warn that those who cannot control the edges of their personal domain are unlikely to exercise true influence elsewhere, for a man who cannot protect himself cannot protect others or command loyalty. This is why testing boundaries is a subtle yet invaluable tool for reading people instantly. It is in these small clashes, these gentle tests, that the mask often slips. A person's response to intrusion or challenge exposes their level of self-discipline, their tolerance for discomfort, and their capacity for authority. By paying attention to where they bend and where they resist, you gain insight into their character that is far deeper than casual conversation or even deliberate confession. The mastery of boundaries signals not only self-respect, but also how they will act under pressure, revealing the very blueprint of their future behavior. In short, those who can defend their edges calmly and consistently are the ones who carry power naturally. Those who cannot reveal their weakness in a single, observable moment.
11. Observe what they fear losing. Fear is the lens through which desire becomes visible. What a person fears losing, more than what they hope to gain, reveals their true priorities, the hidden architecture of their motivations. Some fear for their reputation above all else, reacting sharply when their image is challenged, because they have built their identity entirely on external validation. Others fear loss of wealth, and every action they take is a calculated attempt to safeguard their resources, often at the expense of integrity. Still others fear losing control over those around them, and in their actions you will see constant manipulation disguised as guidance or concern. Machiavelli understood that fear is a leash by which men are led, and the one who recognizes it can predict behavior with uncanny accuracy. To see what someone truly values, do not ask them. Watch what they act to protect when confronted with threat, whether real or imagined. The most revealing moments occur in subtle ways: a hesitation when handing over responsibility, a tense response when praise is given to another, or a sudden rigidity when a potential loss is mentioned. Each reaction is a map of their inner priorities, a guide to their vulnerabilities, and a signal of where leverage lies. Fear unmasks a person in ways their words cannot, and when observed carefully, it can be used to anticipate decisions, reactions, and even betrayals. Machiavelli would advise that knowledge of what someone fears losing is knowledge of what drives them. And the most powerful strategists exploit this insight, not to harm necessarily, but to understand. For in the end, to read someone instantly, you must study the shadow of anxiety that trails every desire. It tells you where their heart truly rests. 12. See how they handle temptation. Temptation is the ultimate litmus test of character because it strips away pretense and exposes the raw self beneath. When a person is offered something desirable, a shortcut to recognition, a momentary indulgence, a small advantage, they are confronted with the choice between restraint and immediate gratification. Those who seize it without hesitation reveal a tendency to prioritize short-term gain over long-term strategy, showing impulsivity and a susceptibility to influence. Those who resist demonstrate discipline, foresight, and a level of self-mastery that few possess. Machiavelli understood that human nature is often predictable in such moments, and that how someone responds to temptation is more revealing than any carefully rehearsed statement or polished display of virtue. It is in these moments that the mask drops and the true measure of a person is revealed. The ambitious will be tempted by recognition, the greedy by wealth, the vain by admiration, and the controlling by power. Watch closely, and you will see not only their desires, but their capacity to govern those desires, to maintain composure when an opportunity glimmers just out of reach. This insight provides instant knowledge of their priorities, their weaknesses, and the kind of influence they are most susceptible to. Machiavelli would argue that the person who can resist small temptations will navigate larger ones with greater wisdom, while the one who succumbs easily is predictable in their choices, often to their own detriment. To read someone instantly, observe how they react when an advantage is dangled before them. There lies the truth of their character. 13. Study their body language, not just their words. Words can deceive, and people are often skilled at constructing a persona that conceals their true intentions. But the body rarely lies. Every shift of the eyes, every tightening of the jaw, every hesitation before a response is a silent confession of thought or feeling. A man may speak with confidence, yet if his shoulders are hunched or his hands fidget, the body betrays a lack of assurance. A woman may assure you of calm composure, Yet subtle tension in her posture reveals anxiety or fear. Machiavelli recognized that the body is a battlefield where the conscious and unconscious waging war. And those who understand these signs hold the key to reading others with precision. To watch someone's gestures, expressions, and movements is to witness truth leaking from the cracks of carefully constructed words. Subtle signs, micro-expressions, shifts in stance, changes in breathing can reveal more than an hour of conversation ever could. Hesitation before answering a question often signals internal conflict. Fleeting smiles can indicate duplicity or hidden amusement. Crossed arms can suggest defensiveness or control. The most dangerous individuals are those whose words are polished, but whose bodies betray tension, impatience, or desire. Machiavelli would warn that power lies in observing these discrepancies between speech and action, for the body's truth is unavoidable. To read someone instantly, you must learn to listen with your eyes, to understand the unspoken language that accompanies every word, and to notice when the mask falters. The body, in its honesty, will always reveal what the mouth conceals. 14. Notice how they treat themselves. The deepest window into a person's character is not how they treat others, but how they treat themselves. Self-respect, or the lack thereof, radiates outward, shaping every interaction, every decision, every relationship. A person who neglects their health, speaks harshly of themselves, or settles for mediocrity has already surrendered to weakness, and this surrender colors everything they do. Conversely, the individual who disciplines their mind and body, who cultivates habits of excellence, and who carries themselves with quiet dignity, demonstrates an inner strength that no external circumstance can easily shake. Machiavelli would argue that a man who cannot rule himself is ill-equipped to navigate the complexities of others. The way someone treats themselves is the blueprint for how they will wield power, make decisions, and influence the world. Self-treatment is revealed in small, often overlooked behaviors. The care taken in appearance, the consistency of effort, the seriousness with which personal responsibilities are approached. These habits reflect not only character, but priorities, revealing what someone values most when no one is watching. The confident and self-disciplined do not need constant validation from others because their authority begins within. Those who falter in self-respect project uncertainty, weakness, or dependence onto others, often demanding approval or manipulating situations to compensate for their internal imbalance. To read someone instantly, you must learn to understand the non-spoken language that accompanies every word, and to notice when the mask falters. The body, in its honesty, will always reveal what the mouth conceals.